You did something. And they didn't think you had it in you. That's where I want to start tonight, because that's the whole pulse of this reading. And I felt it the second I touched the deck. There is a person in your orbit, and you know exactly who built their entire understanding of you around a quiet little assumption. An assumption that you'd stay, that you'd fold, that you'd take it, that you'd keep doing the thing you'd always done, keep accepting what you'd always accepted, keep being predictable in the way that made their life easy. And then you went and did the one thing they never, in 100 years, expected you to do. And they are reeling. Hi, it's Elena. Welcome back to Elena Tarot. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little fired up tonight. Because this reading is a celebration of your nerve. And I love a reading about a woman who finally shocked the people who underestimated her. So sit up, roll your shoulders back. Because tonight is not a soft, sad, will they won't they reading. Tonight is about the move you made that nobody saw coming. And the absolute earthquake it set off in someone who thought they had you all figured out. Let me say this clearly before we go 1 inch further. You are not the same woman they met. And that is the thing they cannot wrap their heads around. They've been operating off an old map of you, an outdated file. They've been treating you like the version of you that existed before you grew a spine of steel. And they got blindsided when the new you showed up and did something the old you never would have dared. They're standing there, holding a map that no longer matches the territory. And the territory is you, and you have changed. So let's get into it. Let's find out exactly what you did, why it rattled them to their core, and what it set in motion. Grab whatever you're drinking. This is a good one. And before I pull a single card, I want to say one thing to the woman watching who's feeling a little shaky about the bold thing she did. Because I know not all of you feel triumphant right now. Some of you feel triumphant, yes, and I love that for you. But some of you did the brave thing and you've been quietly second-guessing it ever since, wondering if you were too harsh, too much, if you overreacted, if you should have given one more chance, if the silence on the other end means you made a terrible mistake. If that's you, if you've been brave on the outside and wobbly on the inside, this reading is especially for you. Because I'm about to show you, card by card, that the bold move you've been doubting was exactly right. That the wobble is just the residue of old conditioning. The part of you that was trained to apologize for taking up space. The cards are going to back you up tonight in a big way. So whether you feel like a warrior or whether you feel like a warrior who's secretly trembling, both of you, stay with me. By the end of this, you're going to feel a whole lot more solid about what you did. Let me shuffle. We're going straight to the shock. Straight to the move that proved them wrong. Okay, first card down. And it came out swinging. The card is the Queen of Swords. And let me tell you, when this woman shows up at the start of a reading, I know exactly what kind of story we're telling. We're telling a story about a woman who finally stopped explaining herself and started acting. The Queen of Swords is sharp. She's clear-eyed. She's done being confused. Done being strung along. Done giving people endless chances to do the right thing. And the move you made, the thing that shocked them, has her energy all over it. Because here's what you did. At the core of it, you made a clean decision. A decisive one. One with an edge to it. You stopped negotiating with a situation that didn't deserve any more of your negotiation. You drew a line, and then this is the part that floored them, you actually held it. That's the thing, isn't it? People draw lines all the time. They threaten, they warn, they say if you do that again, I'm done. And then the person does it again, and they stay anyway. That's the pattern this person was counting on from you. They'd seen you bend before. They'd seen you give the warning and not follow through. So when you finally drew the line, and then kept it when you proved that this time the words had actions behind them, it broke their entire model of who you are. The Queen of Swords doesn't make idle threats. She doesn't bluff. When she's done, she's done. And there's a finality to it that more emotional, more wishy-washy energy just doesn't have. And that finality is exactly what this person could not process. They kept waiting for you to crack, to soften, to come back around like you always had. And you didn't. You held the line with a calm, cold clarity that frankly scared them a little, because it was the first time they realized they could actually lose you. Not as a threat, as a fact. And I want to highlight how you did it, because this is the part that really separates the Queen of Swords from everyone else. You didn't do it with a screaming match. You didn't do it with a big dramatic blow-up, a tearful ultimatum, a 40 text rant. The Queen of Swords cuts with precision, not chaos. You did it cleanly, calmly, maybe even quietly. And that quietness is what made it so devastatingly effective, because a loud, emotional reaction would have given them something to push against, something to dismiss as you being dramatic or overreacting. But cold, clear, composed follow through, there's nothing to argue with. There's no drama to deflect. There's just a woman who calmly decided she was done and then was done. You took away their favorite move, the move where they paint you as the unstable one so they never have to look at their own behavior. You didn't give them that. You gave them clarity so sharp it could cut glass. And they had absolutely no defense against it. Comment, I held the line, if you finally followed through on something you'd only ever warned about before, if you proved that this time. Your word had teeth. Because that's the energy that opened this whole reading. Let's pull the next card. Okay, the next card is the Eight of Cups. And this is where we find out why your move hit them like a freight train. Why it wasn't just surprising, but genuinely destabilizing. The Eight of Cups is the card of walking away, of turning your back on something you've outgrown and refusing to look over your shoulder. It's one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck, and it almost never gets the credit it deserves. Because walking away, really walking away, not the dramatic kind where you secretly hope they'll chase you, but the genuine kind where you've actually let go, is one of the hardest and bravest things a human being can do. And you did it. Here's why it shattered their picture of you. This person had categorized you as someone who needed the connection, who was more invested than they were, who would always be there, always be reachable, always be willing to come back to the table. In their mind, you were the one with more to lose, which gave them the upper hand and let them get comfortable, lazy, careless. They could give the bare minimum because they assumed you'd accept the bare minimum forever. And then you walked. You did the Eight of Cups. You looked at the cup that wasn't being filled and you set it down and you turned around and you left and you didn't look back and you didn't keep checking and you didn't leave the door cracked just in case. You closed it fully with dignity. Do you understand what that does to someone who thought they had the power? It doesn't just hurt them. It reorders their entire understanding of the dynamic. Because the whole time, they thought they held the power to keep you waiting, the power to decide when to show up, the power to give little and take much. And your walking away revealed the truth they never saw coming. The power was yours all along. You were the one choosing to stay. And the second you chose not to, the entire illusion of their control collapsed. They weren't keeping you. You were keeping them. And now you've stopped. That's the gut punch of the Eight of Cups. It's not just she left. It's she was never trapped, she was choosing. And now she's choosing differently. And I have no power over that whatsoever. That realization is what's got them spinning. And I want to give you full credit for how hard this actually was. Because I don't think you let yourself feel proud of it. Walking away from something you've outgrown sounds simple when you say it out loud. But anyone who's actually done it knows it's one of the most gut-wrenching things a person can do. Because the Eight of Cups isn't walking away from something bad. If it were all bad, leaving would be easy. The Eight of Cups is walking away from something that still has good in it, something that still has love in it, or history, or comfort, or potential. You didn't leave because there was nothing there. You left because what was there wasn't enough. And you finally had the self-respect to know the difference between this has good moments and this is good for me. That distinction breaks people. Most people can't make it, they stay forever, clinging to the good moments, ignoring that the whole isn't serving them. But you made it. You looked at something that still had a pull on your heart, and you walked anyway, because your future mattered more than your comfort. That's not coldness. That's the bravest kind of love, the kind that includes loving yourself. Sit in that for a second. You did the thing most people are too scared to ever do. Let's pull the next card. Okay, the next card is the Five of Pentacles. And this tells me exactly what's happening on their side now that the dust has settled and the reality has set in. And it's not pretty for them, so brace, because we're about to peek behind their curtain. The Five of Pentacles is the card of feeling left out in the cold, of standing on the outside of a warm, lit window looking in at something you used to have access to and no longer do. And that, right now, is your person. They are out in the cold of your absence, and they are feeling the lack of you in a way they absolutely did not anticipate feeling. Here's what's so striking about this card in this position. When you were there available, reachable, reliably present, they experienced you as a given, a constant. Something they didn't have to think about because it was just always there, like the floor under their feet. You don't think about the floor until it's gone and you're falling. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't appreciate the warmth of having you until they were standing outside in the cold of not having you, with their face pressed against the glass, realizing that the thing they took completely for granted is gone and they're the one who let it go. And there's a specific flavor of humbling in this card that I want you to savor just a little, because you earned it. The Five of Pentacles humbles people. It takes someone who felt secure, who felt like they had options, who felt like they were the prize, and it sets them down hard in the cold and makes them realize they had it backwards. They thought you needed them. They're discovering in the cold that they needed you, and they were too arrogant or too comfortable to see it until you were gone. So when you wonder if your absence is even registering, if they've even noticed, if they care, if your bold move landed at all, I want you to understand. It landed. It's landing right now, every single day, in the cold spot where your presence used to be. They notice. Oh, they notice. The silence where you used to be is deafening to them. They just have too much pride to say it out loud. And here's a detail about the Five of Pentacles that makes it even more pointed for your particular situation. In the imagery of this card, the cold, struggling figures are walking right past a warm, lit church window. Help is literally right there. Comfort is right there. And they don't go in. Why? Sometimes pride. Sometimes shame. Sometimes they're so deep in their own suffering, they can't even see the door. And that's your person to a T right now. The warm window they keep walking past is the obvious solution. Humble themselves, admit they were wrong, genuinely change, and come to you with real accountability. That door is right there. It's available to them, and they keep trudging past it in the cold because their pride won't let them walk through it. They'd rather freeze out in the cold of your absence than swallow their ego and do the one thing that might actually warm them back up, which tells you something important. Their suffering right now isn't your doing. You're not the one keeping them cold. They are. The warmth is available the second they're willing to genuinely change, and the fact that they haven't yet tells you exactly how much work their pride still has to do. That's not your burden to carry. You already lit the window. Whether they walk toward it is on them. Comment out in the cold if you can feel that your absence hit them harder than your presence ever did, because the cards are screaming that it did. Let's pull the next card. Okay, the next card is the King of Wands. And this one surprised me a little, because it adds a layer I wasn't expecting. It's not just that they're hurt and humbled, there's something else mixed in, and it's respect. The King of Wands is the card of bold, commanding, magnetic leadership energy. And the reason it came out here to describe how they feel about you now is genuinely fascinating. Because as much as your move hurt them, as much as it humbled them, as much as it inconvenienced their comfortable little arrangement, they cannot help but be impressed. They are watching you operate with a boldness, a self-command, a refusal to beg or shrink. And some part of them is sitting there in grudging, helpless admiration going, damn, Here's the psychology of it, and it's so real. People are drawn to what they can't control. The moment you stopped being controllable, the moment you proved you had a backbone they didn't know was there, you became infinitely more compelling to them, not less. More, while you were available and accommodating, they took you for granted. The second you showed teeth, you became the most interesting person in their world. There's something about a person who can walk away with their head high, who can hold a boundary without flinching, who doesn't need you, and proves it that is magnetic in a way that endless availability never ever is. So this person is experiencing something deeply uncomfortable for them. They respect you more now than they ever did when you were being good to them. Your defiance earned something your devotion never could. And I know that might sting a little, the idea that your strength impressed them more than your kindness, but I want you to take the empowering lesson out of it rather than the bitter one. The lesson is this: your power is attractive. Your boundaries are attractive. Your willingness to walk is attractive. You never had to shrink to be wanted. You had to stand up. And now that you've stood up to your full height, they're seeing you clearly, maybe for the first time, and they're realizing they massively underestimated who they were dealing with. And I want to take this lesson one level deeper, because it's not just about this person, it's a truth you can carry into every relationship for the rest of your life. A lot of us are taught, especially as women, that the way to keep someone is to be endlessly accommodating, to give more, ask for less, never make waves, never risk being too much. We're sold this idea that love is something you earn by being agreeable. And this reading just blew a hole right through that lie. Because the moment you stopped being endlessly accommodating and started honoring yourself, you didn't lose their interest, you commanded it. The King of Wands is showing you, in real time, that self-respect is not a turnoff. It's the opposite. People don't actually fall for your willingness to disappear into their needs. They fall for your substance, your spine, your standards, the fact that you're a whole person with a line that can't be crossed. So let this rewire something in you permanently. You do not have to earn love by shrinking. You attract real respect by standing tall. The version of you that has boundaries is more magnetic than the version that had none. Every single time. Remember that long after this particular person fades into your rear view. And there's a flip side to this card I want to make sure you catch, because it protects you. If your strength is what finally made this person respect you, if your boundary is what made you magnetic to them, then understand the kind of person you're dealing with and let it inform how much weight you give their newfound interest. A truly healthy person doesn't need you to walk away before they value you. A truly healthy person values you while you're being good to them. So the fact that it took your boldness, your defiance, your willingness to leave to finally earn their respect, that tells you something real about where they were operating from. It tells you there's someone who responds to the chase, who gets interested when access is removed, who took your kindness as weakness until you forced them to see otherwise. And that's worth remembering if they ever come back around. Because a person who only respects you when you're walking away may need you to keep walking away forever to maintain that respect. And that is an exhausting way to be loved. So enjoy the validation of having earned their respect. You absolutely did, but hold it at a slight distance. The respect you really want is from someone who'd have given it freely, without you having to prove your willingness to leave. Don't lower the bar just because someone finally cleared the old one. Raise it. You've earned the right to. Let's pull the next card. Okay, the next card is the Seven of Cups. And this one takes us right inside their mind into the fog of confusion and second guessing and replaying that's consuming them right now. So let's go in there and look around. The Seven of Cups is the card of too many thoughts, too many possibilities, a mind swimming in confusion and unable to land on solid ground. And that is the exact state of your person's head right now. Because your bold move didn't just hurt them, it confused them profoundly. And now they're stuck in a loop trying to make sense of a version of you they don't recognize. Here's the conversation happening in their head, on repeat. How did I misread her so badly? I thought I knew exactly who she was. I thought I had her figured out. When did she change? Was she always capable of this and I just didn't see it? Did I push her to this? Could I have done something different? Is it too late? Does she actually mean it this time? Or is there still a way back? Round and round, cup after cup, none of them giving them a clear answer. Because the truth is, sitting in a blind spot they refuse to look at directly, they didn't lose the old you. The old you grew up, and they weren't paying attention while it happened. The Seven of Cups also shows me that they're doing a lot of fantasizing right now, and not in a light way. They're replaying old scenarios. They're imagining conversations where they say the right thing and you come back. They're idealizing what they had now that it's gone, the way people always do, suddenly remembering all the good and conveniently forgetting why you left in the first place. The cup they're staring at most longingly is the one labeled the way things were, and they want it back so badly, but they can't have it because you're not that person anymore. That cup is empty. It belongs to a version of you that no longer exists. And here's the thing about the Seven of Cups that I want you to hold on to, because it puts the power firmly in your hands. While they're lost in the fog, confused and spinning and unable to land, you are clear. You're the Queen of Swords from card 1. You see exactly what happened and exactly why. The clarity that they've lost, you have. And in any dynamic where one person is clear and the other is confused, the clear one holds the power. You are operating from solid ground. They're flailing in fog. Don't let their confusion pull you back into the murk. Stay clear. Stay sharp. Your clarity is your crown. And I want to warn you about something. Because the Seven of Cups doesn't just describe their fog, it's also a warning about a trap that could pull you in. Here's the trap. When a confused person who's spinning and idealizing finally does reach out, and they often do, from exactly this state, they reach out from the fantasy, not from reality. They'll come to you painting a gorgeous picture. I've changed. It'll be different this time. I finally see what I had. I can't stop thinking about you. And it'll be tempting, so tempting, because it's everything you might have once wanted to hear. But I need you to remember where that beautiful picture is coming from. It's coming from the same Seven of Cups fog they're lost in right now. It's a fantasy cup, not a real one. It's their longing talking, dressed up as a promise. So if they come to you with a dream, your job is to look past the dream and watch the actions. Anyone can paint a pretty cup when they're cold and missing you. The question is never what they say from the fog. The question is what they actually do over time, in daylight, when the fantasy has to become real and sustained effort. Don't buy the painting, wait for the proof. Your clarity is the one thing that can't be fogged, so use it. Comments stay clear if you can feel that you're the one seeing this situation clearly while they're lost in their own confusion. Because that clarity is everything right now. Let's pull the next card. Okay, the next card is the Knight of Cups. And after all that confusion and cold and grudging respect, this is the card where their actual feelings start leaking out, the ones they're working hard to suppress. So let's name what they're too proud to say. The Knight of Cups is the romantic. The one who, underneath all the bravado, actually has deep feelings and actually wants to reach out with his heart. And the fact that this card showed up tells me that beneath the wounded pride, beneath the confusion, beneath the cold of the Five of Pentacles, there is a genuine, tender feeling for you that this person is absolutely terrified to admit. Because admitting it would mean acknowledging how badly they messed up. Here's what they're afraid to say out loud. I want her back. And I have no idea if I deserve to even ask. That's the thing they can barely let themselves think, let alone speak. Because reaching out, actually coming to you, hat in hand, and admitting they were wrong, admitting they underestimated you, admitting they took you for granted and want another chance that requires a level of vulnerability and humility that their ego is fighting tooth and nail. The Knight of Cups wants to ride over to you with his heart in his hands, but his pride keeps grabbing the reins and yanking him back, whispering, what if she says no? What if she's really done? What if you humble yourself and she rejects you? Better to stay quiet and save face. So they're stuck. The feeling is real. The Knight of Cups doesn't lie about that. But there's a war happening between the part of them that genuinely wants to come back to you and the part of them that can't bear the humiliation of admitting they were wrong about you and wrong to treat you the way they did. And which side wins that war is going to determine whether they ever actually reach out. And let me describe what their reach out is likely to look like if their longing wins that war, because I want you armed with this, so you're not caught off guard. A person with this much pride rarely comes out and says the full, clean truth on the first try. It's too exposing. So the first contact usually arrives in disguise. It comes as a low-stakes test the hey, how have you been out of nowhere? The casual comment on something you posted. The I was just thinking about you that conveniently leaves out everything that actually matters. The message about some practical thing they don't really need an answer to. They do this so that if you respond coldly, they can retreat without ever having truly risked anything. It's the ego protecting itself. It's them dipping a single toe in the water to test the temperature before they're willing to admit how badly they want to swim. So if a strangely casual, strangely low-effort little message shows up from them, understand exactly what it is. It's not the apology you deserve. It's a probe. It's them checking whether the door is still open before they're willing to do the real work of walking through it properly. And you get to decide whether a probe is worth your energy or whether you require someone to come correct with the full truth, the full accountability, and the full effort before you'll even look up from the beautiful life you're building. Spoiler, you do require that. You didn't grow this backbone to settle for a toe in the water from someone who should be ready to dive. But here's what I need you to hear. And I'm going to be very direct, because this reading has earned some directness. Their feelings are not your responsibility. The fact that the Knight of Cups feelings are real does not obligate you to do anything with that information. You proved your point. You held your line. You showed them who you are. Whether they find the courage to reach out, and whether you choose to even entertain it if they do, that's a completely separate question, and the power to answer it lives entirely with you. Don't let a glimpse of their hidden feelings pull you back into a dynamic you were brave enough to leave. Their longing is real, but your standards are real too. And you didn't grow this backbone just to let it dissolve the moment someone misses you. Let's pull our final card. Okay, last card. And after everything, the bold move, the shattered illusion, the cold, the respect, the confusion, the suppressed feelings, let's find out where your courage is actually leading you. Because this reading was never really about them. It was always about you and the door your boldness just opened. The card is the world. And listen to me, because this is the perfect card to close on, and I want you to feel the full weight of it. The world is the final card of the entire major arcana. It's completion. It's arrival. It's the end of a long, hard journey and the wholeness that's waiting on the other side of it. It's the card that comes when you've learned the lesson, walked the whole road, and finally graduated into a new version of yourself. And the fact that this is where your bold move leads tells me everything. Your courage didn't just shock them. It completed something in you. It was a graduation. The moment you held that line, walked that walk, proved them wrong, you closed a chapter that you'd been stuck in for far too long. And you stepped into a wholeness that doesn't depend on them at all. The world is not a card about getting someone back. It's a card about becoming someone, specifically, the fully realized, no longer shrinking, no longer negotiating your worth version of yourself that this entire experience forged. So here's the truth at the heart of tonight. You proved them wrong, yes, but the deeper victory isn't that you shocked them. It's that you discovered yourself. You found out you had the guts. You found out you could hold the line. You found out you didn't need the thing you were scared to walk away from. And a woman who knows that about herself, who has proven it to herself, is a woman who has graduated into a completely new level of power. And she is never, ever going back to who she was before. The world also promises that this completion opens onto something new. Doors close so other doors can open, and the world sits right at that threshold. Whatever comes next for you, whether this person finds their courage, or whether someone far more deserving walks through the door your boldness opened you, are walking into it as a whole, complete, self-possessed woman who finally knows exactly what she's worth. And that changes everything about what you'll accept from here on out. And I want to point out one more layer of the world, because it's the one that should make you feel genuinely powerful as you close out this reading. The world is the card of mastery. It's not just you finished a journey, it's you finished it and came out transformed, having learned the lesson so completely that you'll never have to learn it again. And that's the real prize hiding inside your bold move. You didn't just escape one situation. You graduated from an entire pattern of behavior, the shrinking, the overgiving, the staying too long, the accepting too little. You leveled up out of it permanently. And here's why that matters so much. The next time someone tries to underestimate you, tries to take you for granted, tries to give you the bare minimum and assume you'll accept it, you're going to recognize it instantly. Because you've already mastered this lesson. You'll see it coming from a mile away. You won't waste years on it like you might have before. The world means this was the final exam of a chapter you never have to repeat. You passed. You're done with that curriculum forever. And the woman who walks into every future room now carries that mastery with her, like an invisible crown that everyone can somehow sense, even if they can't see it. That's what your guts bought you. Not just freedom from one person graduation from an entire way of being small. There's no price you could put on that. Before I bring this all home, I want to step away from them entirely for a minute, because honestly, we've spent enough of this reading on their cold and their confusion and their grudging respect, and I don't want you to miss the part that actually matters most. The part that's just for you. Here's what I want you to really understand about what you did. You didn't just make a move. You broke a pattern. And breaking a pattern is one of the rarest, hardest things a human being ever does. Because patterns are comfortable. Even the painful ones, especially the painful ones. There's a strange safety in the familiar, even when the familiar is hurting you. You knew the script of staying. You knew how to survive inside it. Walking away meant stepping into the unknown. And the unknown is terrifying in a way that even a bad but familiar situation isn't. And you did it anyway. You chose the scary unknown over the comfortable misery. Do you have any idea how few people ever manage that? Most people die inside the same patterns they were born into, telling themselves next year, next time, when things calm down. You didn't wait for next time. You moved. Now, and I want to name what it probably cost you, because I don't think anyone has acknowledged it. It cost you sleepless nights. It cost you that horrible stretch of doubt where you wondered if you were making a huge mistake, if you'd regret it, if you were throwing away something you'd never get back. It cost you the comfort of the familiar and the false hope that maybe, if you just stayed a little longer, things would finally change. Letting go of that false hope is its own kind of grief. And you grieved it. Probably alone. Probably while still showing up to your whole life like nothing was happening. That takes a strength that doesn't get medals, doesn't get applause, doesn't get noticed by anyone except by the cards tonight, which are noticing all of it. So here's what I want you to do, right now, wherever you are. I want you to stop waiting for the external proof that you did the right thing. Stop waiting for them to come back and validate it. Stop waiting for the universe to send you a sign that confirms it. You don't need any of that. The proof is already in you. The proof is the fact that you're still standing. The proof is the version of you that exists on the other side of that brave decision, clearer, stronger, more sure of her own worth than the woman who walked in. That woman is the prize. That woman is the whole point. You didn't go through all of that to win them back. You went through all of that to win yourself back. And you did. Mission accomplished. The rest is just details. So let me pull this whole powerful thing together for you. Because you should walk away holding the full shape of what just happened. We opened with the Queen of Swords. The move that shocked them was a clean, decisive, edge-having decision. A line you drew and held for the first time, proving your word finally had teeth. The Eight of Cups revealed why it shattered them. You genuinely walked away, with dignity and no backward glances. And in doing so, you exposed the truth that the power was yours all along. They never held you. You chose to stay. And now, you've chosen differently. The Five of Pentacles showed us their reality now, out in the cold of your absence, humbled, finally feeling the value of what they took for granted, noticing the silence where you used to be, even though pride keeps them from admitting it. The King of Wands brought the twist. They respect you more now than they ever did, because your boldness made you magnetic in a way your availability never could. Your power impressed them where your kindness couldn't. The Seven of Cups took us into their spinning, confused mind, replaying everything, idealizing what they lost, unable to accept that they didn't lose the old you grew up while they weren't watching. The Knight of Cups exposed the feelings they're too proud to admit, a genuine longing to come back, at war with an ego that can't bear to be humbled. And the world closed it all. Your courage didn't just shock them, it completed you, graduating you into a whole new version of yourself that doesn't depend on them at all. So here's what I want you to carry out of this reading, and I want you to carry it like a banner. You did something brave, something the old you wouldn't have done, something nobody expected from you, least of all the person who thought they had you figured out. And it worked. Not just because it rattled them, though it did. It worked because it changed you. You are not the woman who would have stayed, would have folded, would have accepted less than you deserve. You proved to them, but more importantly to yourself, that you have a spine of steel and the guts to use it. And there is no unproving that. You can't go back to being small after you felt yourself stand at full height. That's the real victory. That's the thing that's permanent. And I want to say something to every woman this reading reached tonight, because I think you needed to hear it from someone. And tonight, that someone is me. The world does not always celebrate a woman who refuses to shrink. Sometimes it does the opposite. Sometimes when you finally stand up, the people who are comfortable with you sitting down will call you difficult, dramatic, cold, too much, hard to deal with. They'll try to make your strength sound like a character flaw, because your strength is inconvenient to them. And I need you to brace for that and refuse to absorb it. Because here's the truth. The people who benefit from your smallness will always be the ones most threatened by your power. Their discomfort with your backbone is not evidence that your backbone is wrong. It's evidence that your backbone is working. So when someone tries to shame you for finally having standards, for finally saying no, for finally walking away, recognize it for what it is. It's the sound of someone losing access to a version of you that served them at your own expense. Let them be uncomfortable. Their comfort was never supposed to cost you your whole self. You're not too much. You were never too much. You were exactly enough. And now, you finally believe it, and that's what they can't handle. Now, and I say this with all the love and all the backbone this reading has been built on, do not let their reaction become the new thing you orbit. I know it's tempting. I know there's a part of you that wants to watch them squirm, wants the validation of seeing them realize what they lost, wants to keep one eye on whether they'll come back. Resist that. Because the most powerful position you can possibly be in is genuinely not waiting to see what they do. Their cold, their confusion, their grudging respect, their suppressed feelings, that's all happening on their side of a line you already crossed. Your job isn't to monitor their reaction. Your job is to keep walking into the world card, into the new whole version of you, into the life and the love that the brave woman you've become actually deserves. Let them figure their stuff out on their own time. You've got a whole future to walk into. And I want to leave you with one final reframe. because I think it's the most freeing thing I can hand you tonight. There's a difference between winning and being free, and I want you to choose freedom. Winning would be them coming back, groveling, admitting you were right all along, and you getting the satisfaction of the victory lap. And I get the appeal after being underestimated. That fantasy is delicious. But here's the trap inside it. As long as you're waiting for that victory lap, you're still tethered to them. You're still letting their behavior be the scoreboard for your life. You haven't actually left, you've just relocated to the bleachers, watching to see if you'll get to gloat. And that's not freedom. That's a gilded version of staying stuck. Freedom is something different. Freedom is when you genuinely stop checking the scoreboard. When their realization, their regret, their reaching out or not reaching out simply stops being the thing your peace depends on. When you're so busy walking into your own world card, your own completion, your own wholeness, that you actually forget to wonder what they're doing. That's the real prize, not the victory lap, the freedom from needing one. So as you close out this reading, I want you to aim higher than winning. Aim for the day, and it's coming. And it might be sooner than you think, when you realize you haven't thought about whether they've noticed in a while, because you've been too busy living. That day is the actual finish line, and you're closer to it than you've ever been. That's the reading, my loves. Bold and clear and unapologetic, exactly like the woman it's about. If this fired you up the way it fired me up, if you felt that yes, I did do that surge. If any of these cards made you sit up a little straighter, drop a like on your way out. It genuinely helps these readings reach the women who need that backbone reminder tonight. And subscribe to Elena Tarot if you haven't yet, because empowering, take no prisoners readings like this are some of my favorites to do. And I've got plenty more coming for you. Tell me in the comments which card hit hardest. Was it the line you finally held? The cold they're standing in? The respect they can't help but feel? The completion of the world? I read every single one, and what you pick tells me exactly where you are in your story. And if you know exactly what bold move this reading is about, you don't have to spell it out. Just drop one fire emoji, so I know you did the brave thing. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight, and more than that, thank you for being the kind of woman who finally had the guts to do the hard thing. That's rare. Most people stay stuck their whole lives. You moved. You stood up. You proved them wrong. Now go be unstoppable.